the meeting. I don't see you showing up as a participant.
Okay, I'll do that.
Sure.
Hey, Samlin, I'm seeing odd little crisscrossy squares.
Oh, on the right side of the screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because I pulled up the participant list.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, there's one right at the very middle on the top.
Yeah, that's the menu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Nilesh, are you able to see anything on the screen?
No. There is a message saying that you are no longer connected to the meeting, automatically reconnecting, but it's not reconnecting.
Oh.
All right. And I'm getting this error, server not found, when I clicked on the link. The Bellevue College link is not connected.
Huh. I don't really know how to troubleshoot that.
Okay. I mean, Nilesh, could you just...
This is Heather. If you go to bellevuecollege.webex.com,
yes,
you should be able to rejoin the meeting there. You just might have to bump all the way back out to the very start of our site if the web link's not working anymore.
The web link is not working anymore.
Yeah, so if you just go up to your internet browser and just type bellevuecollege.webex.com.
That's also not working. It's saying the server is not found.
Huh.
Yeah, same error is showing.
Let me try it myself.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's allowing me to get to that site. That is very strange. I wonder.
Just continue with the recording.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, of course. So here's an example of a signed note or an unsigned note. We can, from the action button, sign the note now. Usually I write better notes. Hopefully it doesn't give you so many errors. Visit type or procedure type, kind of visit type. Never mind. Great, and so I enter my signature code and you can see it moves that down into a signed note. You can also see, these are examples of, actually these two notes from yesterday are examples of notes that were generated by this admission assessment tool. It's quite detailed, a lot. And you'll see if we get to that, that it's just a sort of long form that you fill out. And it creates two things. It creates the sort of form documentation, and then at various steps you have the opportunity to create a plan of care, and then that plan of care is documented separately so it's clear what you should do with the patient, and both of those, then you come back in to CPRS to sign them. So there's information about consults if the patient is scheduled to see other physicians at a clinic, discharge summary, which we won't really get to, I think, in any of our lessons. There may be labs in some cases. Anyway, there's a lot back here. But I think for the most part, we're staying fairly focused. So like I said, CPRS is the sort of patient record, and that's kind of where everything is collected. It's very similar to the physical record that you would sort of file away at a hospital. Most of our students who are interested in using VISTA are nursing students, And so there are nursing tools that are not included in CPRS, the patient profile tool. And one of the big ones that they were interested in is the shift handoff tool. So we can double click on that and sign in using the same access and verify code that I logged in with before. And then we get this option to select the patient, and I can find by ward, Patricia again. Great, and then I hit submit. And so this shift handoff tool is generally where nurses would keep notes about their patients, like patient needs to be turned today, patient is expecting call from spouse today, patient very grumpy, patient didn't sleep well, whatever that kind of note is, or hasn't had medication yet, slept through breakfast, whatever, that stuff all goes in here. So we'll be doing just a very minimum kind of log in, add a note, and then print. And I've just been printing to preview because that's really all we need to see for these.
Samlyn?
Yeah.
The only two editable fields on the shift handoff are in the bright yellow. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
So this information most of the information is pulled directly from CPRS, but these yellow fields, like Vivian pointed out, are editable. So you can sort of say, like, Dr. Whoever is covering Patricia today, and she is expecting him to come by at some time, or something to that effect. And then the value of this tool to a nurse is that then they can get a printout of all of their patients, all of their rooms, and all of the tasks that they feel they need to do for each of those patients. So that's what we're doing in the shift handoff tool. The shift handoff tool pulls information out of CPRS, but these tasks and covering physician information doesn't reload into CPRS in any way. So it's separate information. Do you have any questions about the shift handoff tool? I know that was very quick.
So we are good so far.
I guess it was a little quick.
Yeah. Obviously, we're providing instructions for sort of what we think students need to achieve with the shift handoff tool. That one's actually pretty straightforward. But like I said, if you have questions later down the road, just be in touch with us.
Sure.
Okay, I guess flow sheets is the next one. Again, same login and username. Oops. And I'll also say that if you don't do anything in CPRS, it will log itself out, which is annoying. Okay, so first thing in the flow sheet is also to select the patient. You can search by patient name or by ward. So we've got Patricia, and we will open her flow sheet. So a flow sheet is usually, again, it's another tool that a nurse uses, for example, when they're supposed to be checking on a patient's vital signs or activity at regular intervals, such as, is your weight changing? Have you been eating regularly? Usually the flow sheet is based on whatever templates are useful. We only have the one loaded in, and that's Training BC, so you can just select it here from this dropdown. And you'll see some of the examples of things that are in here. So you can look at the activities for daily living. You can look at intake. output, pain, and each of those sort of have different variables. Like we're looking at pain level and the duration and other nonverbal cues, or under skin we're looking at condition, color, temperature, whereas at the top when we were talking about intake and output, we're looking at various times. And Vivian, can you remind me how I edit this? Oh, Vivian, you're muted. Oh, right. So in order to add data, click the Add Data button. And that sort of pops up all these things. So we can say Patricia has normal bowel sounds, that she had her normal morning routine by herself, and she's had a meal, and she's up in her chair, and she's doing really good. She's even ambulated. We can say this all happened in her room. We click Save, and then that loads up to the flow sheet at the appropriate time. And then for each, the thing to keep track of is that for each of these, there's a separate Add Data button. So if you want to add intake information, you click that Add Data button. If you want to add output information, you click this Add Data button. And now I'm trying to remember. Oops. So once you have that information, it can be loaded as a note to CPRS. And how did I do that? I believe by clicking the Reports button.
Yeah, doesn't that go right into the Reports section?
Right. Yes. Okay. Apologize. Still new to this. How do I actually make it send, though?
Oh, the upload.
Notes. There we go. So from reports, you can see that this is formatting like one of these sort of notes in Vista. You can write a note saying like flow sheet on today, or whatever else a nurse might think to write there. And then if you sign it down here in the electronic signature field, then it gets loaded as a note with a general visit header in that patient's CPRS.
Why don't you go ahead and do that and show?
Yes. Signed and filed. Let's find it. So
isn't it in reports?
Is it in reports?
I thought it would be a show up in reports.
Really?
No, maybe not.
Oh yeah, no, here it is. A general.
Oh, it's in the notes. Okay.
Yeah. So I'll say the other thing that's kind of a useful tool, especially because we're often sort of working in one to feed back to the other. CPRS has this refresh patient information button or tool that will sort of update if when you click back to CPRS, the note that you were looking for isn't magically there. So you can see that based on that limited information I put in there, we now have this very delightfully formatted note. You can see that I was the author. We can see the things that the patient did this morning. You can see that I left everything else blank. And again, you can see when I signed it down at the bottom. And had I put more interesting details in my note, that would have been here. So That's sort of the story with the flow sheet. We'll be using this template, but I think not all of it in our lesson. Do you have any questions about that?
Who are the target audience for this Vista?
Right, so we're thinking that for all of the Vista lessons, it'll be nursing students.
Okay.
So we are kind of assuming that they get what a flow sheet is and that they get how a patient record should be used. And so we're kind of just focused on how to use this flow sheet and how to manage this patient record rather than, you know, the kind of more clinical, why would you do these things or how is it important to track patient intake or any of that sort of thing. Does that help?
And what would be the, yeah, and finally, what would be the approximate seat time of these modules? I mean, there'll be 3 of them, right?
Yeah, so there'll be 3 of them. We're thinking that the first one's a little short, maybe 45 minutes, and the next 2 are about an hour.
Okay, fine.
But it's hard to estimate these things, but that's what we're thinking.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the story with the flow sheets. And are there other questions about the flow sheet? I'll just very quickly show you the admission assessment tool. Oh, I can't see the proper time, so will someone tell me if we're going long?
It's 8:06.
Okay, good. Thank you. So the last tool is this admission assessment tool. And there's a couple assessment types. We're focused on the medical type because I haven't learned how to do any of the other ones. When you start typing the patient's last name, it brings you to a list. And this is just a very long form. So important things about this form and this tool are that it's context sensitive. As you start answering questions, you'll see new things appear. Depending on your answer, maybe different things appear. The point of this tool is to create a very thorough admission that then gets loaded into CPRS as a note, like I showed you at the beginning, and then to develop a care plan that will also be loaded as a note to the patient's record. It also does other things like in a few places there's the option to request consultations, for example, with a social worker or a specialist. They're usually like allied health consultations, like we need an occupational therapist or a chaplain even. You don't necessarily get like, oh, the cardiologist needs to come by. The asterisk on all of these things always means it's a required field. And where possible, these things are linked to other fields. For example, providers. There is a list of providers in Vista as we're using it. And you can't just say like Dr. somebody because it'll sort of break, but we'll provide you the information to put in these fields. And so when you say upload the consult, it sort of prepares it with that care plan note. The one other very important aspect of this form is that the whole thing has to be filled out completely, otherwise it won't let you submit it. So we could right now say we'd like to upload the data and you get this error listing of everything you haven't filled out yet. which is frustrating, but if you double click on any of those things, it will take you to where the blank is. So you can just keep working in case you've missed anything. And like I said, we're going to try and provide you with the information to fill out in all of these forms, but if you're getting that error message, that's what that's about. So each of these tabs sort of focuses on generally body functions body systems or other kind of major areas, general information, education, pain, and if the patient comes in with an IV. And then under each of those tabs, there's often several pages that have more forms. And like I said, there's lots back there, and depending on what you are filling out on each aspect, you may be sort of turning on things on other pages. So for the lesson that we're going to do, we're really going to focus on, I believe, this general info tab and this respiratory tab, because we wanted to keep it fairly succinct. However, in order to sort of, the lesson will sort of be like, okay, you're logging in, you're doing the admission. This is an example of how you fill out this form, and then we'd like to show you how you complete the form. We will actually need you to have completed the form to move past this step. So like I said, we'll be providing that information, but that's what that's about. Do you have questions about that? Is that clear?
We are clear.
Okay. Please be in touch if this gets confusing. I find it terribly confusing, and we're happy to try and help out with these sort of technical problems. So when you complete this, like I said, it gets loaded to the patient's record. This is the admission assessment that I filled out yesterday for Patricia and the care plan. So once the student fills out and succeeds at submitting all of this information, when you log into CPRS, there are forms that need to be signed, and that's kind of like the last step is signing those notes, and then you finally succeeded in admission assessment. So those are the tools that we'll be highlighting in the lessons. Like I said, that's 3 lessons of building length. Like I said, we'll be sending you the first 2 of those tomorrow. The admission assessment one is the one I'm still working on now. And that'll be at the end of the week. I'll pass that along. Yeah, and do you have any other questions about how to use Vista?
No, not at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess we will have to go through the draft storyboard, to understand the steps.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's a little confusing, yeah.
Yes.
And once we start using the system.
Yes,
right.
It does. It helps very much. And the other thing is that I think, Samlin, you also sent them the instructions for using it, the ones that we were going to put in Canvas.
I haven't sent those yet, actually.
Okay, well, we'll send you those too. That's another way. It's as if a manual for how to do the things that we've just shown you. So,
okay.
Yeah, we'll try to provide you with as many resources as we can. Because the biggest thing about Vista is that it just is confusing to go back and forth. But the reality of Vista is that it's strictly forms. It's forms that people fill out in a particular way in order to have information appear about the patient. So that's really the whole goal. And one of the things that looks very difficult until you realize that that's all it is. It's just been set up as it's electronic forms. So that's my input for the morning.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the document you were mentioning, once we get that, I think that will be helpful.
Yeah, I'll send that right after this meeting, so you'll have it tomorrow. Or tonight.
And I believe you're having some problems accessing the FTP. So maybe for today you could just send them via mail.
Sure, yeah.
Yes, I'll just look into the FTP issue tomorrow, and then maybe after that we can start using FTP again.
Okay, sure, thanks.
Great. So do we have any other?
Yeah, that's everything on my list unless you guys are having other questions at this point, either about the Open EMR or I suppose we'll be sending more information about Vista. There's not that much more to say about it today.
Might have some questions.
I don't.
The proto is ready.
Sorry?
Once the prototype is ready, we might have some questions.
Oh,
Don't have any
sure.
questions at the moment.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Well then, in the meantime, thank you all for joining us, and I'll be sending some more files your way, and we'll be in touch.
Sure. Great.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your evening.
Okay, bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.
Bye.